Steve Jobs, who has been a brilliant leader. Could it be possible that what Steve Jobs learned in 50 years of his life, you could learn in just 15 minutes? Well, the answer is yes, it is possible. Steve Jobs gave a speech at Stanford University, and in it, he shared the biggest lessons of his life in 15 minutes through 3 stories. Steve Jobs says, "Today, it's an honor for me to be with all of you at the commencement ceremony of one of the finest universities in the world. I want to tell you the truth. I never graduated from college, and today is the first time I've come this close to a college graduation ceremony. Today, I'll share 3 stories from my life with you. Nothing more, just 3 stories. The first story, connecting the dots. I dropped out of Reed College after just 6 months, but stayed around as a drop-in for another 18 months. So why did I drop out? Well, it started before I was born. My biological mother was a young, unwed graduate student, and she wanted me to be adopted. But she insisted that my adoptive parents must be college graduates, so everything was set. I was supposed to be adopted by a lawyer and his wife. But at the last minute, they changed their minds because they wanted a girl. So my parents, who were on the waiting list, got a call in the middle of the night asking, "We have an unexpected baby boy. Do you want him?" They said yes. Later, my biological mother found out that my adoptive mother had never graduated from college, and my adoptive father had never even graduated from high school. She refused to sign the final adoption papers until my parents promised that I would go to college. And that's how my life began. 17 years later, I went to college, but I naively chose an expensive one, almost like Stanford. My working-class parents spent all their savings on my tuition. After 6 months, I couldn't see the value in it. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. No idea how college would help me figure it out. And here I was, spending all my parents' life savings. So I decided to drop out and trust that it would all work out. At the time, it was scary. But looking back, it was one of the best decisions I ever made. Why? The moment I dropped out, I stopped taking the required classes that didn't interest me and began dropping in on the ones that did. It wasn't all romantic. I didn't have a dorm room, so I slept on friends' floors. I returned Coke bottles for the 5-cent deposits to buy food. I'd walk 7 miles across town every Sunday night to get one good meal at the Hare Krishna temple. But I loved it. And much of what I stumbled into by following my curiosity and intuition turned out to be priceless later on. Reed College at that time offered perhaps the best calligraphy instruction in the country. Because I had dropped out, I decided to take a calligraphy class. I learned about serif and sans serif typefaces, about varying the space between different letter combinations, about what makes great typography great. It was beautiful, historical, artistically subtle, in a way that science can't capture, and I found it fascinating. None of this had any hope of practical application in my life, but 10 years later, when we were designing the first Macintosh computer, it all came back to me, and we designed it all into the Mac, the first computer with beautiful typography. If I had never dropped in on that calligraphy class, the Mac would never have had multiple typefaces or proportionally spaced fonts. And since Windows copied the Mac, no personal computer would have them. Of course, it was impossible to connect the dots looking forward when I was in college. But it was very clear. Looking backward, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward. So, you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. Believing that the dots will connect down the road will give you the confidence to follow your heart, even when it leads you off the well-worn path. And that will make all the difference. The second story, love and loss. I was lucky. I found what I loved to do early in life. Woz and I started Apple in my parents' garage when I was 20. We worked hard, and in 10 years, Apple grew from just the 2 of us into a $2 billion company with 4,000 employees. We'd just released our finest creation, the Macintosh, a year earlier, and I'd just turned 30. And then I got fired. How can you get fired from a company you started? Well, as Apple grew, We hired someone I thought was very talented to run the company with me. For the first year or so, things went well, but then our visions of the future began to diverge, and eventually, the board sided with him. So at 30, I was out, and very publicly out. What had been the focus of my entire adult life was gone, and it was devastating. I didn't know what to do for a few months. I was a public failure. I even thought about running away from Silicon Valley. But something slowly began to dawn on me. I still loved what I did. The turn of events at Apple had not changed that, so I decided to start over. I didn't see it then, but getting fired from Apple was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. The heaviness of being successful was replaced by the lightness of being a beginner again. It freed me to enter one of the most creative periods of my life. During the next 5 years, I started Next and Pixar. Pixar went on to create the world's first computer-animated feature film, Toy Story, and is now the most successful animation studio in the world. In a remarkable turn of events, Apple bought Next, and I returned to Apple. The technology we developed at Next is at the heart of Apple's current renaissance, and Laureen and I have a wonderful family together. I'm pretty sure none of this would have happened if I hadn't been fired from Apple. It was awful tasting medicine, but I guess the patient needed it. Sometimes life hits you in the head with a brick. Don't lose faith. The only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking. Don't settle. As with all matters of the heart, you'll know when you find it. The third story, death. When I was 17, I read a quote. If you live each day as if it was your last, someday you'll most certainly be right. It made an impression on me. And since then, for the past 33 years, I've looked in the mirror every morning and asked myself, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I am about to do today? And whenever the answer has been no for too many days in a row, I know I need to change something. Remembering that I'll be dead soon is the most important tool I've ever encountered to help me make the big choices in life. About a year ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. The doctors told me it was incurable and that I had 3 to 6 months to live. Later that evening, I had a biopsy, and it turned out to be a very rare form of pancreatic cancer that could be cured with surgery. I had the surgery, and thankfully, I'm fine now. No one wants to die. Even people who want to go to heaven don't want to die to get there. And yet, death is the destination we all share. It clears out the old to make way for the new. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma. Have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Final words: stay hungry, stay foolish. When I was young, there was an amazing publication called The Whole Earth Catalog. On the back cover of their final issue was a photograph of an early morning country road with the words, "Stay hungry, stay foolish." And I have always wished that for myself. And now, as you graduate, I wish that for you. Stay hungry, stay foolish. Thank you all very much. And friends, I hope you learned a lot from this video. If I made any mistakes while converting this speech, please forgive me.